The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
All aboard the Bhoycie bus. It's a special weekend. We've seen the trophy yesterday. We've hit 100 shows. We are going to celebrate both tonight. And I am delighted to be joined. You know, all that generic shite. I am buzzing though, because Scott Cameron, Terry Robb, Phil McGinley, Paul McFallon have joined us. The punk duck warlord. What a name. But Liam, to us, is on his way as well. He's just sorting out some echo issues with his headset and all that, but that'll be fine. He can jump on anytime he wants. What a weekend we are a part of. I know I'm wearing shades, you know why? Because I don't give a fuck. Brilliant way to be in life. Right? Everyone should embrace it. Don't give a fuck. You know, if you just stay true to your guns, man. Who gives a fuck? So, Celtic Football Club are the champions of Scotland again. Now, yesterday I found was an emotional day, and we're going to celebrate Celtic success. We're going to talk about the reasons why they've had so much success, but we're also going to talk a wee bit about the Bhoycie bus. The Bhoycie bus, you know, the wee humble little bus, you know, the wee bus that was built on being bitter and angry at other Celtic fans. Bullshit! This bus has been a bus of positivity. We have now hit the landmark of 100 fucking shows, ladies and gentlemen, in the space of 5 months. Is that really based on being bitter or being better? What we have done is we have managed to galvanise a team out of nowhere. Every single member of this team is just a normal Celtic fan that I've struck lucky with by coming on the Double Doon show, doing a wee quiz, and then have ended up coming on and becoming mainstays of the team. You'll recognise the faces now. This is how mad this has now got. We're sitting there with 2.26 thousand subscribers. We're sitting there with over fucking 1,000 viewed hours. We're sitting there with over 45 countries on planet Earth have watched the Bhoycie bus from. I know I've never told any of you that. That is a fact. And I can show you the list. We're now sitting in a position where we now don't try and stand alone. We are the People's Champion show. And you know what? It's not about Bhoycie being a People's Champion. It's not about Scott Cameron being a People's Champion. We're all champions. Celtic are champions. What we've tried to do from day one for the Bhoycie bus is rev up the engine and get everyone and anyone that wants to talk Celtic to get an opportunity to come on and talk Celtic. And we have proven all the bullshit, all the myths, all the wee silly narratives that the wee fella puts on Twitter, we have put that to bed. Today is about us celebrating what we've managed to do. Guys like Terry's now a regular on the Bhoycie bus. He's never been a podcaster in his life. The reason the bus revved up in the first place was maybe through a wee, what I call handbags for it. I mean, I've had bigger arguments with the cat. And he's fucking tiny, he's called Bagheera. You know what I mean? But you get blocked off everything, and there's narratives going about you're nasty, and he's a bully, and all this bullshit, right? What actually happened is I wanted to go solo for a while. And all we're doing is the same thing people in big studios do. We are now doing this on our own. And what we've actually managed to achieve is a community. And when I say everyone's a champion today, I mean every single Celtic fan in the world. And I mean every single Bhoycie Bus viewer, whether they be a member, a regular viewer, a once a month viewer, if they come in every now and then just to tell me my hair's shite, that's all good, because that's what's made the bus sign. And I've now got 4 guests. I'm going to have a 5th guest once Liam gets his headset sorted. They've never done podcasts in their life before, but all feel a part of sign. 2 of them are now wearing t-shirts because they've bought into the vibe that we've got. And the vibe we've got is we actually give a fuck about you, and you. And every single person I appreciate so much that you've jumped on board this whole time. We had another landmark moment on Friday, guys. The first ever female contributor, Danielle, who everyone was not surprised how good she was, because it just seems to be every time I pick a guest, and I'm not cherry picking because I'm in the know. I'm literally just going, if you want to come on. It just seems to have landed on my feet that it turns out Celtic fans kind of know what they're talking about. And there's no us and them vibe with the bus. The bus, I am he, as you are he, we are he, and we are all together. And this is the best vibe ever. Today we celebrate, yes, first and foremost, Celtic's emotional success yesterday. And we are going to discuss that at length. We're gone for 2 hours, guys. But we're also going to go, do you know what? Raise a wee toast. Because the Bhoycie Bus against all odds, not through bitterness, through being better, has achieved 100 shows already. And a huge thank you to each and every single one of you, whether you're a member, a viewer, or a contributor. I have loved the journey we've been on so far. And by the way, this bus doesn't stop. Enough of that shit now.
Wow.
I know.
If that doesn't deserve a like, then I don't know what does. That was amazing. You should be a hype man, like seriously. So everyone in the chat, hit the like button just for that speech alone. Because that was like any given Sunday when Al Pacino does that speech before the big final game. I'm ready to run through a wall now, man. Well done, Bhoycie, that was incredible.
I told you I had sun coming, but I just feeling the energy, I feel the adrenaline, I feel like we're just going this way. The club is going this way, and we seem to be mirroring it a wee bit right now. Written off in September was Ange Postecoglou. Written off in December was the Bhoycie. They tried to keep me locked away, but hallelujah, I feel free. That is the way we are right now. And now it's time for the debate, for what the bus does best. And what the bus does best, we don't try, Terry, for example, I'll come to you first. We've never tried to go, oh, this is really organised, Terry. You know, you need to have your shit together to come on this bus. No. What's the first question I ask you? You better be drinking, mate. That's the first question I asked him. But Terry, it's been a wonderful weekend being a Celtic fan. I want your thoughts on it first and foremost. How do you feel this weekend? We knew it was sewn up. Probably Rangers knew it was sewn up after we got the win at Ibrox. But now it's all there, and the visuals are there. We've seen Ange lifting the trophy. We've seen his powerful speech. How good does it feel to be Celtic?
That's the bit that got me yesterday, was not so much the game, as much as the game was brilliant, and some really, really good goals. Great finish from Giakoumakis, a superb goal from Kyogo, the one where he let the ball drop over his shoulder and volleyed it into the corner. Great technique. But the bit that got me was the 45 minutes or so after the game, where you got to see the players enjoying themselves. You got to see the emotion. Tom Rogic in bits coming off the pitch. Beaton emotional. Even Ange was emotional. You could feel a quiver in his voice whenever he was doing his little bit of speech. That whole part from yesterday, just watching those players enjoy themselves at the end of this season after how last season went. the only bit that I'm worried about from my perspective is what the hell are we going to do until we've got the next game, because we're months from a game now, and it's how do we as Celtic fans fill these weeks? You're usually thinking it's only 3 or 4 weeks to the Champions League qualifiers. Now we don't have those. What are we going to do with ourselves? I'm certainly going to enjoy what's happened this season, but you do miss the games, and it's there's going to be a void there for about 4 or 5 weeks until the pre-season games and things come around again.
Terry, I think it's brilliant that you're saying that, because me and Danielle did a show on Friday. Brilliant double down show. It was world class. She was honestly awesome. And we kept speaking about phase 1s, phase 2s, seasons 1s, seasons 2s. And do you know what? I think you're absolutely right. The thing is, we're going to miss Celtic for these 2 months, but we're also, the other phase of us is glad, because it means they're going to have the preparation time. They're now going to have the big man at the helm doing what he does best on that training pitch, with a squad that's going to look different, by the way, for the one we've just celebrated so much, and we still are celebrating. It's going to be completely different all over again. Now, obviously, you'll notice the big man in the corner, Liam Greenlaw, all the way from Vancouver, has just joined us because he's found a headset. I don't know where he found it from, but we're delighted that he has. Liam, how the devil are you, my friend?
I found it from somewhere in the early 90s. Still got
Same with my haircut.
Same bin. Oh, I'm great, Russell. Brilliant. What a great day yesterday was. I really enjoyed it. You know, went through some tough times in Vancouver with a lot of the guys here and that, and just we all came together yesterday. It was about 4 o'clock our time. We all regrouped and all that, and it's just brilliant when stuff like that, when it happens. You know, can't beat it.
I thought yesterday. I just think you were talking, Terry, about the Hearts game bookmarking the season a wee bit, because we'd started with a defeat to them. We essentially won the league against them, and you're going, that's a nice way to do it. I thought 6-0. I'll come to you, Scott. 6-0 was a nice way to bookmark it, because we had 2 of those victories at the beginning, and they actually came at a time, Scott, when Celtic were having a checkered patch, you could call it, the season at that point, sprinkled with defeats, confusion as to what is this guy trying to fucking do here, and then there was these 6-0 wins. I thought it was so fitting we got that last minute goal yesterday, Scott, and we bookmarked, as Terry was talking about, the last time we had a Sunday sesh, last Sunday funnily enough, that we managed a 6-0 win again. It was emphatic yesterday, Scott, wasn't it?
Definitely, mate. I mean, that's like just typical of the way we've been playing all season. Like you said, apart from that, like sticky bit at the start, but that's literally the way we've been playing since, like, well, just before Christmas, or just after Christmas.
Yep.
It's just like you say, getting the goal the last minute, and just like rubber stamped it, basically. You know, amazing.
It's been incredible. Phil, I'll come to you, because Phil, we're marking 100 appearances in the show. Phil right now can sit comfortably saying he's actually now made the most appearances other than me. I think this is number 11.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
I think it's number 11 you're on, mate. But I mean, which has been brilliant. And it's been brilliant to get all you as part of this journey. But the real journey, the Bhoycie bus, I think there's comparisons with what Ange's done. Not in a fucking, self-absorbent way, by the way. I just think the positivity has been mirrored. Scott says it very cleverly. Since the turn of Christmas, before Christmas you could say, ironically our first show was on the 6th of December. And I think we've been on a wave of positivity because the buy-in, Phil, we've got, and I think what we seen yesterday on the pitch was incredible. Ange is the youngest kids I ever expected. A 6 and an 8-year-old. That old dog has still got it. He's still got it. Boom. Love that, Ange. But that's the most impressive thing I've ever seen. I'm like, fucking fair play, big boy. I love that.
He never stops.
He's relentless. But Phil, it's been a story of Celtic this year really coming into their own by buying into Ange Postecoglou, and I think you've came into your own, becoming a podcast. I hate all that shit, and we hate all that shit.
Yeah.
But there's been a journey we've been on with Ange that is what's like been incredible. I wouldn't call it a roller coaster because, you know, the big dips were all so early. After that, it's almost been plain sailing. 32 games unbeaten in the SPFL, the second longest run since Brendan Rodgers. What was his league run? Sign.
Was it like 57 games or something like that?
57, that sounds good, Scott. That sounds good, we'll run with that. But this is now the second highest that, and it's still ongoing. This is incredible, Phil, times that we're living it.
It really is. I mean, you and I spoke yesterday on the phone. You gave me a wee call for a wee blurrer, and we talked about the sort of, and I'm glad you brought it up, the sort of parallels between this bus and Ange's Celtic. Because I said to you, like, the Bhoycie bus was sort of born at a time when things were starting to click for us in the sort of early part of the winter, maybe like November, December time. And it's just been upwards ever since then. And I think a great way to just highlight just how, you know, this is such a positive place, right? We bit of a tangent, but I can use these guys as an example. So down in England, one of the bigger fan TV channels is Arsenal's. And it's well known that Arsenal fan TV get a lot more viewership when the team get a bad result. And there's even a conspiracy that they actually want Arsenal to get a bad result so their viewership can go up. Now, the most viewed video on this channel is the one that we done where there's 6 of us after we won at Ibrox. There's about 6,500 views. Now, a few weeks later, we lost to Rangers in the semi-final at Hampden. So you would think, with the way sort of Arsenal fan, well, you know, following that model, the way fan TV goes, usually when a team loses, the fan channels get a bigger boost in numbers because a lot of trolls come in. But the one that we lost has got a fraction of the number of views that the one that we won. So it just proves how positive a place the Bhoycie bus is. And it's just like Celtic at the moment. Everything is on the way up. We're on an upward trajectory right now. It is just phenomenal to be a Celtic fan. And being at that game yesterday, absolutely phenomenal. I've been lucky enough. I've been a season ticket holder since 2007. So I've seen a lot of trophies getting lifted since then. That was the best trophy ceremony I've ever experienced. Everything about it just felt, most of me, as good as the Brendan Rodgers ones were. That yesterday was phenomenal. And another personal highlight of the day is I got to meet Paul McFarlane as well, who's down in that corner there. Make sure I put it the right way. Top man, and Paul's at the game as well. So I don't know if you want to hand over to him to get his take on it, because it was a phenomenal day yesterday.
It absolutely was. Do you know, for a second there, I thought you were holding your microphone there.
No, microphone.
Wow. Oh shit! But Paul, we will come to you because you were there and you did meet Phil yesterday, Paul. Special times that we live in right now, mate. 9:30 a.m. I couldn't help but laugh when I seen the order of the schedule for Celtic. You know, there was music planned, and then they couldn't help but put in a face painter. Did you get your face painted yesterday, mate? And you better have paid him.
Listen, Bhoycie, I pay everybody, don't you worry about it. No, yesterday was absolutely brilliant. I've used this word before. Yesterday was very unique. It was very, very unique. And I'm still going to stick to everything I've said before. Not only about Ange, but also about this club and this season. This season has been the best of the lot.
Wow.
And I'm sorry to say it against every other season we've had, and everybody's got their favourites, but this season and what Ange has done with these bunch of players has been truly remarkable. It's been unbelievable.
I think that's brilliant, Paul, because I think it's easy to get into recency bias territory. Do you know what I mean? I think we're all guilty of that, Terry, in life. You know, recency bias. You know, people think Ronnie O'Sullivan's a better snooker player than Stephen Hendry, for example, because he's finally caught up with the 7th title after about fucking 100 years of playing, you know what I mean? Stephen Hendry did it in 10. But, I mean, recency bias dictates that, you know? And I think right now, there could be an element of recency bias in what Paul's saying. But I also think his opinion is shared by many right now. I think it is shared. And I think there's valid debate for it. Whilst we're not trying to split hairs here either, what we can all come to an agreement was, what happened this season was way beyond my expectations, particularly, because I seen this being a disaster. I did. One other thing, Terry, that makes it so special is we've often spoke on the pod about the 50% win ratio. The first 6 games in the league, 3 wins, 3 defeats. What I'd forgotten, and that was reminded to me, listening to the Clyde One phone-in, which I caught up with today. I like that, by the way. I know folk don't want to hear you say that. I like it. It actually turns out our 7th game of the season, we drew with Dundee United at home. What the fuck? I completely had forgotten that. So we were 3 wins from 7 this season. Terry, tell me at that point, you had the Mystic Meg crystal ball out, and you were always saying, do you know what? I see what he's doing. We're going to win this league. Because I didn't.
No, but I think we started the season with relatively low expectation. So it wasn't a case of we were expecting to hit the ground running, we were expecting to win every game. I think most supporters felt this is going to be a bumpy ride for at least a season until this guy comes in with this whole squad of players compiled from all over the world. But thinking back now, at no stage did Ange ever change in his interviews. He was always upbeat.
No.
He always seemed to be in control. He never ever made excuses, and he's never made one excuse from the day he came in the door. Every refereeing decisions, losing players, everything. He just took it in his stride, and he just said, "We don't make excuses. We just get on with it." And it kind of feels like a bit of a blur. And I've said this before, from that period where we were 6 behind to the point where early after the break we were in the lead. I kind of can't remember it. We just seem to have just, I don't know, 4 months just disappeared into like a few days. We were 6 points behind, and then we were ahead, and I'm kind of going, how did this actually happen? This
incredible.
Where did this start? Where did this start? How did we get here? It's like that journey where you're driving along the motorway and you get to where you were going, but you can't actually remember taking any of the turns or anything at all. And I'm kind of going, right, how do we actually land here? Where we've now gone from having no expectation to probably people starting to write us off, or even ourselves starting to doubt that we're going to have any input into this title race. And then all of a sudden you're in the driving seat and heading for the highway.
Oh, that's my fucking seat. But do you know what? It's funny about you saying that? How do you remember? Where the fuck were we at that point? I think it's a brilliant question. However, what Clyde One also did was played an interview with Ange Postecoglou after that game. And and you'll remember the quote when I tell you, and Liam will come to you on this. He says, "Guys, you judge a league campaign early, don't you? I'm not ready to pick up the stumps just yet," which is his cricket reference, because that's one of his, I think it's his favourite sport. He told Shane Warne, the late, great Shane Warne, on a Celtic interview, which that Tom English decided to pick apart because Shane Warne, as a Daffabet ambassador, was wearing a Daffabet t-shirt. Bet he feels silly now. But what was very insightful, what Ange said then, he goes, "I'm not ready to pick up the stumps, mate. I see what we're trying to do." He goes, "I know you can't at this point, but I can see what we're trying to do. And I know there's disappointment. But anyone," I think he says, I'm paraphrasing a wee bit, but he said, "If anyone doesn't think I know what the expectations of this club are, they're not paying attention." But see, if I'm honest though, I have to be honest, I was beginning to panic at this stage, Liam, and thinking this was a boardroom fiasco. This was a board that had shown no sense of direction for the last 12 months. And it's great to hear the trains in Vancouver as they whistle by, or the buses, wherever they are, by the way. Because Liam, by the way, is in Vancouver. How cool is that? But no, don't worry about it. But Liam, I was beginning to think, do you know what? The board never were being creative in this appointment. This has been dished up to them because they fucked up the Eddie Howe thing. They've not been forward, progressive thinking. This is all landed in the lap, and it's actually 3 wins from 7. The worst start to a league campaign since Joseph Venglos. We know Joseph brought us Moravcik, but he didn't bring us any titles, And I think when I look back at that, I'm so glad I was wrong. But Liam, how mental is it with the benefit of hindsight? I can say that. Whereas with the benefit of that period in time, Ange Postecoglou literally told you, what was happening. He could see the team was actually going the direction he wanted it to. He's been proven right from that day on. 32 games unbeaten, league title in the bag, and a fawning fan base.
Aye, they played a blinder. I mean, the board came at the board. I don't know. I think he softened it for them. It could have been a very angry season for them. And I think by him sort of showing us what his framework is. And I think that's what kept us all together in those early games, like drawing that nothing each to Dundee, wasn't it? They didn't even score in that game. Him no coming out, or maybe some horrendous refereeing decisions as well. He never came out and used that as an excuse. But he showed us a framework. He showed us a blueprint of what he was going to do. And I think the people that were willing to read into that, especially because that's what we're missing last year. It looked like we did not have a plan. We did not have a framework. We didn't know who was coming in, who was coming out. And I think Ange brought that positivity. And that's what gave us the grace for him to settle into that and then turn it into this juggernaut, which he's trying to convert it to.
Totally, mate. But I felt at the time that I was so disillusioned with Celtic at that time, right? That I felt... I've muted Liam there, by the way, just because of the traffic. Don't worry about it, mate. When you're talking, you're on. Don't worry. It's just because this now goes out to Spotify. We had a record 50 downloads, by the way, on Friday, which I know doesn't sound a lot, but it's a fucking lot to us. Because we're a channel, really. So when we're getting Spotify hits, that's just a fucking wee Bhoycie bonus. It makes you about 2 cents, I think, a show. Oh, by the way, I've got a Lamborghini outside in the back here. But what I would say is, I was trying to give a different perception on it. I felt there was a lot of happy clapping with that, and she hadn't really done their homework. And that's came and bit me on the arse. But the Told You So Brigade are full of shite. Always remember that. Remember, they knew fuck all about him like none of us did. Nothing on it. We knew nothing on this guy. What he's done is, exceeded expectations, Scott Cameron, like we could not believe. I'm delighted that he's managed to do that. But I also think it's very clever what Clyde One did when they go back to that. He's been set in his way for day one. He's the only one who's not benefiting from hindsight right now, Scott. He literally told us what he was going to do. And even in adversity, he was saying, no. What I'm seeing is actually a machine beginning to tick. Even though we've drawn with Dundee United and are now at a less than 50% win ratio.
Exactly. But he had a game plan and he's executed it, Bhoycie, because he's done this everywhere he's been, basically. And at the start of the season, and it took him a bit of time to get the personnel in. Once he had to get all the players out and everybody in, and then gradually it's just started, But like you say, he told you it was going to happen.
Yep.
And by all accounts, he's not made a day in the first season, so come on, that's blowing that right of the water, Dan. Come on, fuck's sake. Specky bastard, man. Fuck. You know what I mean? Fuck's sake, man. That's somebody that's meant to know all about him. You know what I mean? Fuck.
I think there's a lot of... I think what Scott's saying there, obviously, Dan Orlovich has been on Endless Celts, and I love Endless Celts. But they've got a wee... I want to speak to them about getting that... No, I'm only joking. But they had Dan Orlovich on their show last night. I wondered why Stephen Thompson got in touch with me the other day saying, how are you getting on, Bhoycie? He knew that was coming down the shit pipe, you know what I mean? He's like, butter him up again. No, it's all good. I love those boys in Endless Celts. Every one of them sound as far... And they've always promoted the bus, which I appreciate. But it's funny, because the thing is, Dan was meant to be at ITK, in the know. You know, I mean, certain individuals like to kid on their ITK and in the know. Certain people told me, personally, Shevchenko is coming in to take over Postecoglou in October. You can fucking join the dots as to who that was, right? That's how on ITK he really is. But the thing was, see with what Postecoglou said at that time, it was a manager completely convinced of what his strategy was, Phil. But I felt as a fan at that point, such had been the disastrous season the year before, a worse start in the next season, right? With the same backroom team, no head of recruitment, and a manager I've not heard of. And I actually found him, he was actually annoying me at times, because I was getting to the stage I thought, well, wait, you're not bigger than Celtic, mate. Your principles might be there and you'd rather go out doing what you want to do. That's not good enough for me. It's all about making sure Celtic win. And I think that's how I felt at the time. The defeats obviously are amplifying that massively. But it turns out when you listen back to that interview, by God, he's seeing the painting. He's seeing, the picture that's getting painted way in advance of what idiots like me are. And I've got to take that on the chin. But Phil, it's actually kind of frightening. He knew after a draw at Dundee United, he could challenge what I find at times is a biased media, an ignorant MSM. I think he challenged them, and he actually kind of put himself in a position, Phil, where he could have made that quote could have came back and made him look like the biggest idiot in Europe. But instead, it comes back and it looks prophetic.
Mate,
that's not pathetic. Prophetic. By the way.
Yeah. There's another quote, I believe it after the Livingston game, where he said something lines of, "We now need to have a perfect season from this point in." I'm sure it was that one, maybe even the Dundee United one. He definitely said something in one of those games where he's like, "Look, we now need to be perfect from now to the end of the season to have any chance." Yes. And incredibly, you could say we were. Okay, draws, we're still dropping points, but it was literally we couldn't afford to then lose another game, and we didn't. And again, it just this whole, the narrative that's coming from those journalists that are, calling you out now, Mr. Boyce, for, what was said, and, with this back and forth, Dan, the man in Japan, and he's talking about, I didn't say that. Well, he clearly did. I mean, it's on video. It's like very Donald Trumpism to basically go, I didn't say that. Well, you're literally on video saying it, So it's like, he's changed it now to, oh, no, I said he would stick by his footballing principles, but I've said this to you before, I don't think we've had a real instance where this whole idea that he will just play mad attacking football and not defend, I think other than getting tanked off by a Leverkusen at home because we were very gung-ho that night, we still made lots of chances, but we ended up getting an absolute doing. The Real Betis away game, we were quite naive, but they were 2 European games. But domestically, if this prediction was true about, we're going to have lots of 4 each other, we would have won more games with like ridiculous score lines, but we didn't, and showed quite early on he knows how to adapt and how to change, and he did. He literally said after one of those bad results, we now need to be perfect now at the end of the season. So he knew then and there, I've got to change it up, and by God, he certainly did. It's been near perfect, unbelievable season.
I think you're talking a lot of sense there, Phil, and I think absolutely when you think about the turnaround he's done in terms of players, we're seeing it again, Liam. We're seeing Ange's like a father figure, right? And he's Mr. Nice to everyone. You can't judge anything he says because you get absolutely battered for it. But see, at the same time, do you know what I see in Ange? I see a cynical, cold winner, right? Ange Postecoglou, he might wear the knitted jumper and he might jovial about it, and the father figure stuff, Jock Stein comparisons by Paul McFarlane even last week, and he's getting all this loving. But Liam, I'll come to you, because what we've seen, Liam, was a ruthless side to this manager. He shook hands with 2 of the longest servants at the club. And Tom Rogic, by the way, was nominated by his fellow pros. He was in the top 4 nominees by his fellow pros, i.e. the guys who play up against him week in, week out, for Player of the Year. Ange Postecoglou looked him in the eye and said, I agree with you, mate. It's time to go. That shows to me this guy is not all about the sentimental, I've bought into the family. He's also going, I've got a project here. I've got a job to fucking do. Yeah. And this is going to be done by making cold-hearted decisions that sometimes might seem harsh, but I don't care, because it's going to be the benefit of our team winning football matches, Liam.
Do you think that was his speech to them when they sat down at the beginning of the season? I'm going to find a place for you two. I'm going to make it, you know what, this might be your last season, but you're going to help me transition. And I'll guarantee when you leave here, they'll be screaming your name through the stands and all that, and you'll leave as heroes.
That's so fucking clever. That is so clever, Liam.
Just for one day. Just for one day.
I think there's a huge element of truth in that, Liam. I'm going to come back to, because I do think what he's managing to balance right now is cold decisions, but managing to make it all romantic as well at the same time. What did he do that was so clever yesterday, Liam? I'm going to come straight back to you on it. The two guys who carry the trophy out. Yes, Paul Lambert carried it up the Celtic way. Another clever nod, by the way. Paul Lambert, by the way, was arguably the best midfielder I've ever seen in my life. Paul McStay I've seen in his later years. I was obsessed with him because my dad told me to be obsessed with him. And as that obsession grew, he misses a penalty against Wraith Rovers, and I was like, this guy's shite. You know, but you know, I'm joking, obviously. But Paul Lambert was a Champions League winner who jumped into that Celtic midfield. Obviously, the Martin Tyler Lambert, when that ball hits the top corner, is an incredible moment. Paul Lambert was a clever midfielder. I thought it was classy that he carried the trophy up. But you know what, Liam? I thought the club have shown they've took classiness to another level. They're now beginning to listen again to what the real fan wants. The fan with a bit of heart and soul wants. And by allowing Near Beaton and Tom Rogic to carry that trophy out yesterday, that I think there's an Ange touch in that, by the way. In fact, I think that was an Ange production, don't you?
I think that's a recruitment video right there. We can take boys from the corners of the world that don't have any connection to Celtic and bring them into our family. And by the time they leave, look at this reception, look at this celebration of their name, their cultures, everything about it. It shows you who we are. And I think that was to Jota, to CCV, and any of the boys that are looking who's going to sign this summer. Here's what you could have. You want to be a big game player, you got to play for a big team. We're a big team.
I love that. I love that. And do you know what? I was talking about it with Danielle about, you know, there's an emotional side to this. And you couldn't help but feel, as two human beings, you felt really connected with them. Particularly yesterday. I mean, the Near Beaton interview, and he was in tears the whole time. I mean, think how long he had to compose himself before they had to actually record that, which means he was inconsolable. I love that side of it. Footballing-wise, it's the right decision. That's the cold nature of this sport, of this business, and what needs to be the cold nature of this club if it is to continue to progress. Right? Whether we like it or not. Tom Rogic, fuck me. He comes off the park, and even the referee's like, take your time, mate. Every player is rushing over. Joe Hart runs 40 yards to give him a cuddle. He's only known the guy for a year. Think how he likes Callum McGregor feeling when Tom Rogic just walked off. Tom Rogic was already better than Callum McGregor when Callum McGregor got he's sort of running the team under Ronnie Dyler. You know, Tom Rogic is a guy who's just a box of memories. That's who he is. He's a box of memories. And you always remember the strongest memories in life. Tom Rogic gave us moments of absolute Celtic folklore time and time again. I stand by what I said. For all the cup final goals or semi-final goals, for all the goals against that lot, the most important one was this year, when we had to do the job on their turf. The captain of charisma. Not the captain, but the captain of charisma. Tom Rogic not just cushions that shot as if he's honestly playing beach football where at Cantona, as if he's retired. That composure's a joke, but he's actually, the rest of his performance that day was unbelievable. Like unequivocal. I'm not going to try to say that one. But unbelievable what he did that day. Anytime he was in a phone box of space, he put his slippers on, the glass slippers, the Cinderella shoes, and he just cushions the ball. And they were as if there was no players there. He took charge. And I think, Terry, I'm going to come to you now, because I think, Terry, what he did was he showed that when the big moments come, I'm trying to unmute you, Terry. I don't know if I don't know.
Just unmute it myself.
Legend, mate. Legend. I don't know if Liam's right. Did Tom Rogic know that might be my last visit to Ibrox? And did it give him that wee bit of, do you know what? It's time I remind them how often over the last decade Remember, he reminded us last year, hey, we've always been at the top in the 10 years I've been here. This is not new for us after the League Cup. I think it was time we went to Ibrox and he reminded them, by the way, I've always took charge of these games. Don't forget it. And this might be my last time.
I think both of those players knew it was their last season. Rogic was rumoured to be gone 2 years ago, if you remember, before the 10th season. There was a bid from Qatar of somewhere in the region of 4 million. I'd say what's probably happened is Ange's come in. Rogic probably intended to go that year where the bid came in. Then, for whatever reason, he has stayed. He's possibly then thought about going the next year. Then Ange's come in and talked him into staying for another year. The thing that makes me so sure about why I think those two players, I think that's been an agreement probably from the start with Ange this season and then you're gone, is because I think the replacements were signed in January. I don't think it's any coincidence that so many people are talking about just how Rogic-like O'Reilly is, and I think the whole point of that was for O'Reilly to replace Rogic. That's why they're so similar, is because one's going to replace the other, and it made sense to bring him in January, and he gets a bedding-in period of 5 or 6 months so that we're hitting the ground running next season. Who's the one to replace Beaton? I think it's probably Ideguchi. And the narrative that came in around Ideguchi was he's probably one for next season. And the way I see that is Beaton was never a first-team regular, but he was someone useful to have around who could come in. I probably see Ideguchi in a similar role where he probably won't be in the first 11, but he will be someone on the periphery of that 11 who is reliable, who can come in, who can do a job, who can come on when you want to close games out in the last 20 minutes, that kind of thing.
I've no idea what you just said there, Terry, because it's frozen completely at my end. Am I still freezing?
Yeah, you just fine, mate.
Was that fine the whole way through there?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Terry was fine.
Oh, it was all spinning. It was all. Every one of you went black with me spinning wheels.
No, Terry's point came through loud and clear for us.
No. I froze though.
You looked okay from this side.
Yeah, looked fine. Yeah.
No, that's a compliment for you, Terry. I'll take that. I'll take that in the fucking chin, you big handsome bastard.
Tell us this, just when we're on the topic of these two guys. Are they being released on freeze, or are we getting a fee for them? I didn't realise their contracts were. I didn't think that they were out of contract this summer.
Wonderful point to make. So this again shows Celtic are going back to their roots, Terry. They're going back to their roots. Paul McFarlane, I'm coming to you on this because you spoke a lot about you see a similarity between Ange and Jock Stein. That's going to get made fun of in memes, by the way, because they'll say, you're saying Ange is as good as Jock Stein. This is the nature of the beast we're in when we're on a podcast, right? And we're talking Celtic. I know that wasn't your point. What you said was the personality traits. That warm figure. That guy who's got his eye on the whole thing that Celtic need to become again. And what he achieved. Ange is trying to replicate that. And he's gone about it in that big-hearted way that we've seen with Jock Stein, and he's doing it the right way. But I fucking totally forgot what I was going to say there.
We're talking transfer fees for Beaton and Rogic. What he's
done with Neil Beaton and Tom Rogic is show the values of Celtic. Do you guys want out? Do you want out? Why did we just tear up the contract? Fuck haggling for 500 grand for Neil Beaton. Fuck haggling for 2 million quid from, West Coast Mariners, whoever it may be, if I don't even know if that's a team. But, whoever it is in the Australian League or, Qatar, it might come back up. Rogic might be going for his final 40 grand a week payday. And in the sun, let's not mess about here. If they want to go, let the boys go. 9.5 years service. I think that's bringing back the Celtic values, Paul, don't you? Oh, shit. Sorry, Paul, start again.
Not at all. I think Ange just said all season that he only wants players at the club that wants to be here. And basically, if they don't want to be here, no matter whether they want to go for their payday, like you said, Bhoycie, or whether they just want to go for personal reasons, he'll allow them. And that's how it always comes across to the Jock Stein vibe. I know I keep bringing this up. He's a father figure.
Yes.
It's like him looking after his family, and if they want to leave home and go on and do their own thing, he will allow them to do it. He doesn't care about whether he's going to hurt or not. he will just allow them to go out into the big wide world and do their thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, but I also like the style of it all. Because basically they announced it before the last day, so he could then conquer this illusion that even though he's been ruthless, which he is, right, and he fucking is being ruthless, whether we like it or not, he's went, I don't care how long they've fucking been there, they're not good enough to make it for the next phase. Right, that's the truth, right? He might have offered them new deals, but obviously the deals weren't satisfactory to what they were on before. And just making ruthless decisions, but doing it with the Celtic values. That's what I love. And I need that. Martin O'Neill did this very well. Oh, said Martin O'Neill's name.
Sound the
45
klaxon.
minutes. 45 minutes. Martin O'Neill was cold and ruthless, but did things in the right manner. He knew decisions, big decisions need to be made. I'll fucking make them. And I'm just doing it with this touch of, you know, the big friendly giant in the jumper, you know? Oh, hey, you guys take the trophy. But I needed both your wages off the fucking bill if I'm going to get this club to the next level. That's what we're seeing, Scott. How excited does that make you when it comes to the biggest call, Scott, that Ange Postecoglou is going to remove sentiment from every decision he makes? That's what I feel now. I think every decision you see Celtic make, in terms of the playing staff, in fact, in terms of everything, Ange Postecoglou, Scott, right now, is making decisions that are going to be for the best for our team to thrive. Not only in terms of retaining a league title, and it will be retaining a league title next year, but also in terms of adding more, which will be making a dent in Europe's Premier competition.
Aye, definitely. I mean, there's no room for sentiment, Bhoycie. I mean, it's came back to bite us in the arse a few times. Come on, I mean, we're like holding on to players too long, etc. You know, I mean, the likes of Rogic, I don't think he's like going to be fit enough to play Ange's system next season anyway. So there was no point in like having him kicking about, you know.
Scott was the guy who was nominated for Player of the Year, though.
Yeah, I know, but see when you get like fitness wise, I mean.
But surely in our most successful season, not our most successful ever season, but a season we won a League Cup, we won a league against, I think, a very strong opposition. Rogic was nominated for Player of the Year. Surely it shows he does.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying
I'm not challenging in a bad way, by the way. Because I actually agree with you. I think he would be left behind eventually. But when you look at those facts and you stack them up, there's a debate to be had.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he's not got the ability or anything, Bhoycie, but see when it comes to like tracking back and recovery pace and all that sort of stuff, he's not got that side of his game. He's already going forward, but like tracking back the way I think that's what I just want. He's wanting like guys all over the pitch are going to like run all over the place, and he's. I mean, you can tell all the ability in the world, but if you're not fit enough to run back and forward, Bhoycie, I mean, and track back, I mean, at the end of the day, he's going to be left behind. I mean,
I agree. I just think as well, he was a very useful tool.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one because, like you say, he's got all the ability in the world, but I mean, he's only played half the amount of games over the 9.5 years that he should have played. I mean,
well,
as well.
I agree with that to an extent, but I think it's very prominent to think Tom Rogic's most effective years were Dyla's second season, where actually Ronnie Dyla's beef with that Celtic squad was fitness.
Yeah,
that's where he fell out with the squad, was based on fitness. That's why Chris Commons and him didn't get on, you know. And you only need to look at Chris Commons now. But when you think about that team, even Scott Brown, the photo of him eating a kebab outside and stuff, you know, that was, you know, Ronnie Dyla's second season was about fitness players, and yet Tom Rogic became a focal point in that. Look at that beautiful goal at Rugby Park. Wow. Then you get Brendan Rodgers, who we all know lost a bit of stone when he took the Celtic job. He was like, I need to fucking carry this. And I'm going to talk a wee bit about Brendan Rodgers. We're going to go off tangent here, but this is what we do in the bus. And we're going to now reflect on the impact Postecoglou's made with other managers. Martin O'Neill Claxon doesn't quite need to go off just yet, because I've actually got an idea, Phil. Right? I've got an idea. And I wonder if you agree with this. See if Postecoglou And the reason I'm coming to you is because there's a wee bit of wrestling WWE analogy in here.
Okay.
Right? And I know you're in the NWO t-shirt today with the Bhoycie
indeed.
Bus t-shirt in the background. Scott Cameron's in a Bhoycie Bus t-shirt.
I'm going to point it
Bhoycie
like
Bus.
I've won the Royal Rumble point at the WrestleMania sign. There you go.
Terry
Bhoycie
Robb.
Bus right there.
Terry Robb's in his Bhoycie Bus t-shirt. It's incredible. and Liam, I'd love to pay the postage to Vancouver, mate. You can fucking ram it. You're dressed too cool anyway, mate. You're dressed too cool. You're dressed too cool anyway, mate.
That's okay. On.
See, love it. See that jacket though? I would rather be wearing that jacket than a Bhoycie Bus t-shirt. So let me know when you're putting them up for sale, mate, because that is rock and roll. But Phil,
got two more.
Phil, I know. In fact, sorry, just before I come to you, Bruce. How the devil are you, son?
Hey, Bruce.
Yeah, not very well, but in a good mood.
Mate.
Been a great weekend on it. A lot better than yesterday, but I failed a late fitness test, but I'm here anyway.
It's good to have you on, brother. But I'm gonna go to Phil firstly, because Phil, as I say, I've got a wee wrestling idea. And I think this is going to be big. I think this would work for Celtic.
Okay.
Right now, I believe the buy-in to Ange Postecoglou has exceeded, whatever the word is, Brendan Rodgers' buy-in. Brendan Rodgers had 11,000 at the stadium when he was announced. Ange Postecoglou currently is on a rolling contract. Announce the 4-year deal. Get him out there with, obviously he'll have signed the contract privately. Get him out there with a desk at the centre of Celtic Park with a big book. It looks like a big book. Him signing the pen. Sign the contract. I am telling you, we'll have 10,000 fans there. That is how big I believe the buy-in is now. If we said Postecoglou's going to sign a new 4-year deal, we're opening the gates to Celtic Park to celebrate this. If you don't think that would get the 10,000, I don't think people are paying attention. I genuinely believe you could have him, and what a buy-in, by the way, for the likes of Mark Lawwell, Nicholson, try and shed them in a good light again. Well, not Mark Lawwell, because he's just in the door, but his Lawwell attachment. Get them all painted in a new light, put them on a wee podium with a trophy there. Callum McGregor maybe shaking Angie's hand as he signs a 4-year deal in this big red book. You know what I mean? Like, so, like obviously, I think that will get 10,000, mate. Don't you?
I think so, mate. I mean, the guy can do anything right
Commercial.
now. He's honestly, like I said before in a few shows, like anything he wants, he can get now. He has got the right to ask for anything because he's bailed the club out of a horrible situation a year ago where we were absolutely destroyed on the floor, knocked out everything, and he's got us up again, and we are right back where we want to be. But yeah, in terms of like, you know, just we'll talk about like the squad and that, and just like how ruthless he's been. I suppose the expression is he's got to be cruel to be kind sometimes. And we talked earlier on, like the word emotional came up about yesterday, and it was. But I personally am excited when I saw the news through the week about Beaton and Rogic were moving on. Like, I'm very thankful for everything that both players have done, especially Rogic. I mean, he's given me some of the best moments I've experienced in a Celtic game. I mean, the cup final, obviously, in 2017, unbelievable scenes. But Ange has shown with his track record of the players he's brought in. I keep on hammering this point about he doesn't need to spend stupid amounts of money because all the markets he can tap into, he can get players at low down prices. They can still do a very effective job. So I am excited to see what the next step is. And I agree to what Terry said earlier on. We've already signed the replacement in Rogic with Matt O'Reilly. So the next step will be to just get somebody who can then rotate with O'Reilly. But at the moment, like, that boy is a carbon copy of Rogic, and you know he's only going to keep getting better and better. But yeah, it's in terms of Ange, just the stuff he can do. He can do anything right now. If you put him out there and sign a contract, then yeah, we will get about 10,000 people. I just hope in true WWE style, nobody flips over the table and there's a sledgehammer under it, and then a scrap breaks out. You know, Triple H style or something. Lord, that doesn't happen. But no, it's very, very exciting times, and yeah, I think when they do announce it, I think timing will be everything. I wouldn't be surprised.
Make it a presentation.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Bruce, it's time to say hello, mate. I know you're saying you're not very well, and I get that, mate, but you're on the Bhoycie bus, the bus of positivity. And can you think of a more positive sign Celtic could do as to go, do you know what? If you're all bought into this, really, have you all bought into it? Because we're going to do a huge mass gathering for Ange Postecoglou signing a new 4-year deal. How many is going to turn up? I think it's another excuse, firstly, to celebrate the title, seeing Ange with that trophy. I think people are hanging on his every word right now, whether he's speaking through a loudspeaker, whether he's on a microphone. I think him signing a 4-year deal unites the club yet again, and I still think they need brownie points, Bruce. I still think people are forgetting. They're still in a sugary peg with a lot of people. People don't go to the extent they did at the beginning of this season, the end of last season particularly, also during a lockdown. Imagine that amplified if there'd been no lockdown. I think they're still in a sugary peg. If you want more buy-in, let's start celebrating this guy signing the long-term deal that we must get him on, because Brendan Rodgers, and I love saying this on the show, is still in the top 10 ever highest compensation fees for a manager. $9 million Leicester City paid for him. Guess what? When Brendan Rodgers signed for Celtic, he was on a rolling contract. After year one, he signed that 4-year deal that allowed us to gather that fee for once he left. Postecoglou is still the same as everyone else, mate. If the offer becomes a Manchester United, whoever it may be at some point, that draws his attention, we can't be susceptible to losing him on a freebie because he's on a rolling contract. Get the 4-year deal signed. Get everyone buying it again. And by the way, I don't think he'll go down the Rodgers road. I really don't. But what I'm saying is, imagine him cementing his future in the shape of a contract to this club. Why not make it a public affair? Let's celebrate that.
Yeah, you know what? I think there are a lot of similarities. On the face of it, you can see the same approach. Just from a naive perspective, or before you do any digging, you look at it, and at face value, it seems like exactly the same scenario that we've been used to for the last 4 or 5 managers. Get them in the door, show them a bit of autonomy, give them a bit of control, let them have their own way, sign their own players, change processes in the way that they want, and then year 2, year 3, start tightening that freedom, start relinquishing their control, and the Celtic board take over and start running things their way again. I think we need to not be naive and learn from all of those past experiences, and expect or be prepared for that to happen again, because we've seen it played out every single time. Why should this time be any different? Having said that, I do feel like it's different. It feels different this time. It feels like, I don't know, Andy's just somebody else, isn't it? He's a different guy. He's got a different personality. He's got a certain aura about him. I think even the Celtic board have completely bought into his philosophy. They're backing him to the hilt. Again, the probability would be that next year he starts losing control, but I have a sneaky suspicion that that's not going to happen, because they've been listening to him. They've been, letting him do his own thing, giving him the freedom and all that. And look how well it's turning out. And if you just look at it from a business perspective, that is money. You can see him bringing in the money. He's not spending that much. So he's bringing in players that win us League Cups, win us League Championships, and we're just going from strength to strength. I think next year is going to be even better than this year. This year is one of the best in Celtic's history in terms of the turnaround, in terms of bringing it back together. Like Brendan Rodgers was on about the Holy Trinity or whatever. That's what this is, and it's fully back. And I think the only season that's going to be better than this season is next season.
Aye, that's very positive, Bruce. I love that vibes, mate. And we need to say hello to the young man, Liam Cole, and he is wearing, I think, in my history of being a Celtic fan, that is my favourite Celtic away shirt. It was different, and I remember good memories of them playing in it as well. Nakamura winning the league at Rugby Park. I remember taking Manchester United right to the wire. I think they beat us 3-2. Remember in that Jersey Gravison and Nakamura free kick? Vinegar Hessling it was. Vinegar Hessling scored and Nakamura. How are you, Liam? Good to have you on. And everyone's saying, the bus looks busy. But this is what we do. There's no judgment. Anyone who's been a part of this is welcome on. I told you all that today. How are you, Liam? How are you feeling? How does it feel to be Celtic?
I'm a bit rough. That's all I can say.
For fuck's sake, mate. Wow.
No,
wow. What a fucking... Hey, I'm so glad I got you on, mate. That was a bit fucking rough, mate. Come on.
I'm rough. To be fair, it's probably the drink last night.
The drink last night? Why were you drinking last night?
I think ain't just a wee small fire with Celtic winning the league title.
Oh, is that what happened? You're right, you're absolutely right. Tell me where you partied, mate. Tell me what the vibe was like down Merchant City, because I know you were out. I was jealous as fuck, I'll be honest to you. Because I was down there with young Regan Stevenson like 2 weeks ago. And by the way, the amount of folk who know this bus is unreal. I don't say they're all subscribers of that, but they fucking knew the channel. But Liam, I understand you were with someone from the other pod last night. A certain Mr. Connolly. He's a good lad.
Yeah, I was all down at Squirrel, down just the Gallagate.
Brilliant.
End of there, sort of middle. End of there in the middle pub. So went to Kelly's.
Superb.
Just there, then went to the Brazen. Well, I mean, that was just two stowed. Then went back to Squirrel, then back to Kelly's. Well, I mean, they were even met John Hodgson and Kelly's.
Oh, did you?
A fiver. I know he was charging. Do you know that way? He was charging a fiver for a signature as well.
Was he?
Ooh.
That's surprising.
No way.
That's
way.
surprising. The well-seen Martin O'Neill wasn't beside him because, do you know what, Terry? I love the nostalgia. You know I love just saying Martin O'Neill's name. I am a bit obsessed. But yesterday I shared a photo, Terry. Yesterday of Ange and Mon. And the mutual respect. Do you know what Ange Postecoglou said? So he's came up behind him. Martin O'Neill knows he's behind him. So Martin O'Neill said in the interview, and do you know what? He's done an unbelievable job. I knew you were there. Turns around, and do you know what Ange says straight away? He goes, the great man. That is what he's saying whilst the guy goes, oh, you're meeting Martin O'Neill. All Ange is saying under his bed goes, the great man. I see when you look at those two people together, Terry, it gives you a wee bit of goosebumps, doesn't it? Are we about to do what Martin O'Neill did? Because, Terry, Martin O'Neill's first season, we went out, and we spoke about this before, to Bordeaux, a very deflating home defeat. Lilian Laslandes, who had a flop move to Sunderland, scored the 2 goals for Bordeaux. Born in 1971, by the way, you little fuckers. As if you think my age of date of birth game has never left me. But Laslandes scores those 2 goals, and you think, well, for all the impact it felt, maybe O'Neill was making Europe yet again shite. Is that maybe this? Are we seeing patterns here? Do you think that he could have an impact? Martin O'Neill the next year, remember, 2001, 2002, we won 9 points in that group stage. We were cheated in Turin, 100, cheated. No two ways by that Amoruso dive. That point makes us win 10 points in the Champions League group. Our first ever Champions League group. Obviously, we've got the big cup sitting there in the trophy cabinet, just for Bob McBob and all that who's watching, you want to get all excited, you know what I mean? We've got the big cup already sitting there. History, know it. So, but Martin O'Neill takes our first ever group stage campaign, if you like. He wins all 3 at home. 9 points. Could Ange Postecoglou, but I thought it was a wee bit of a disappointing European campaign. Could the Bodo Glimp be that Bordeaux? Could we be looking at next year Postecoglou making the impact in Europe that we're all desperate to see again as Celtic supporters?
Just remains to be seen, Bhoycie. We could go into this draw. We could come out like we normally do with a Paris Saint-Germain, a Bayern Munich, and probably the strongest team from pot 3 as well, which tends to happen. In terms of pattern, I don't know, but in terms of pattern, those two were a great double act yesterday. I can't imagine they've met each other too many times, but they looked as if they had been friends for years and years. I've said before on the pod, Ange reminds me of Martin more than any other manager. He's extremely clever, extremely passionate, but also extremely witty. I mean, O'Neill's wit was unbelievable. And I put Ange in that same bracket. I mean, the joke about the jumper and everything yesterday. He's a funny guy. And just before you come in, I was reading comments from Ange where he met Martin in London, I think on the Thursday night, where
Celtic Foundation.
Yeah, and they were having a chat, and Martin congratulated Ange on winning 2 trophies in his first season, but then reminded him that Martin had won 3 in his first season, which is just the way Martin O'Neill was, you know. He congratulated him on one hand, and then he took it away from him with the other.
It's funny because I think the similarities you're talking about, I see them in, and I'm going to give you another example of why I see these similarities, Terry, right? Martin O'Neill, before his first ever press conference, I've had this confirmed by someone, as you know, I worked with in the past that was in the press, right? Good lad, never going to slag him off in my life, I never will. And he said, basically, O'Neill comes out for his first press conference, lowers his glasses before it's lights, camera, action, and literally looks at the hound, the pack of hounds, I should say, of journalists, and just says this very simply. It's before his first press conference. I have a very, very long memory. That's all he said. What is he saying when he's saying that is fucking so intimidating, so on the money, so go try it with me. Ange Postecoglou, I've used the example on the show before, Terry. He says, it almost seems like you didn't want our team to win tonight, mate. To that, what's he called, Kenny McIntyre? And he's calling it out, but he's doing it in this, as you say, with wit, with charm, but so direct, Terry. There's intimidation involved in this.
There's a cleverness, and
yes.
Lenny's one of my favourite Celts of all time, but when Lenny was saying the same things, he wasn't saying them in the same way. He was shouting. He wasn't clever enough. He turned the media and he turned people against him because he just couldn't articulate it in the same way. And without trying to put myself in the same bracket as Martin O'Neill, he actually went to my school. So we were both schooled at St Malachy's in Belfast. Martin's not actually that much older than me, to be honest. But yeah, he wasn't at school at the same time. He was a little bit, but he's probably one of the most famous people that went to that school, and a much cleverer person than I. But yeah, I get what you're saying. There was one part yesterday though where I thought Ange might have been able to get a dig in, and they were just talking about the success and the way of doing the success, and Ange was just saying that he felt that his way of playing was also the way that Celtic supporters want to see the game being played. And I thought he could have maybe slid a wee dig in at Martin just around his playing style, which, as successful as it wasn't just as pretty on the eye, perhaps.
I think that's interesting though, because there's many ways to skin a cat. I see at the end of the day, Martin O'Neill did take us to the European final. Martin O'Neill did take 9 points that European Champions League. I remember us being gutted that we didn't draw at the very least with Bayern Munich away in Europe. And that's where the team was aging a bit. Because Magnus Edman was in goals. He was fucking murder. But I think Ange is very, very careful with stuff like that. I think Ange has a real grip, Scott Cameron, on what the history of Celtic is, what the capabilities Celtic are. And I think he's being very coy by the fact he will never talk about styles of football. I think Ange is a winner, and he respects Martin O'Neill for winning. He probably respects that idiot Gordon Strachan now for winning. Now, the reason I call Strachan idiot is because of that Mark McGee appointment. I've lost so much respect for him for doing that, because that to me is anti-football. That's just jobs for the boys, made a mockery of that club. Not that I've got any thing with Dundee or anything, I don't give a fuck about Dundee, but genuinely I'm like, that's wrong in football. Like, that is wrong in football. There's no need for that shit. But Scott, when it comes to eras, Ange Postecoglou's era, Scott, is going to be defined by whether he can do what Martin O'Neill did. Season 2 in Martin O'Neill, 9 points Champions League. Did we go out to Valencia, I believe, on penalty shootouts that season? I'm sure it was. And then the next year, we go to a European final. Postecoglou's eyes are surely not trying to replicate what Martin O'Neill did domestically, as good as that would be. He's trying to replicate what he started making Celtic in Europe, and that was a force again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think he's going to be ready for it next season. I mean, it came far too early this season, didn't it? I mean, he'll be ready for it. I think once he gets more players in that in, I think we're going to get knockout football after Christmas at least.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a big improvement, and then just like gradually take it. He might be like Rangers and make a couple of lucky draws along the way. A bit of luck, that's what we've needed. I mean, how many times have we been in positions, Bhoycie, to get through, and there's always something goes wrong. You know what I mean?
Well, do you not think Celtic will become? See, to be fair, right? I was saying this to Phil on the phone yesterday, Scott. I'll come back to you. Celtic had less qualifiers at the beginning of 9 in a row than what they had at the end of 9 in a row to make the Champions League. Is that not a damning indictment on how poor we've been in Europe over that period?
Yeah, I mean, the club's just been mismanaged for years, old Bhoycie. I mean, it's sometimes it's not to do with the managers. The folk are upstairs, you know, making the decisions. I mean, we've been held back big style.
They never moved back to managers. That's fair enough. But at the end of the day, during that time, we've had. So we're going back to the start of it. It was Lennon first time, then you had Dyla, Rogers, then Lennon, back to Lennon. 9 years, mate. 9 years, and we had more qualifiers at the end of that 9-year run than what we did at the beginning. That to me tells you, Scott, something about our European, firstly, performance, secondly, our European ambition. Is that's got to change if you want to keep it like Postecoglou, Scott?
Definitely. You've just got to be ruthless, boys. You know what I mean, we've become the soft touch. I mean, like you say, it used to be a fortress. I mean, there's teams coming up to Celtic and winning that shouldn't be winning there. And it's been going on far too long now, mate. You get to the stage where you become the laughing stock. You know what I mean?
I don't think we will be that under Postecoglou.
No, but up until now, you know, it's just like one bad result after another, and it's always we winning positions a lot of the time. So we just shoot ourselves in the foot. It's just there's no. I don't think we've had the right mentality going into some of these games, and that's what Postecoglou's going to bring, isn't it? I mean, he's not going to let you off it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And by the way, I hope no one's getting offended if I've not came to them in a while. There's too many of yous for me to work this out, right? So I think I'm coming to Paul McFarlane next, right? The bus is busy tonight, right? The bus is busy. If I'm muting you, don't take offence. It's just trying to run this bus. It's a busy double-decker bus we've got tonight. On 154 watching live. And all I can say is hit that like button, baby. Hit the subscribe button. It helps the channel. It doesn't cost you a penny. If you want to become a member, there is an optional $1.99 option, but it's not because there's exclusive content. It just will help me afford the fees that the sponsorship money was before, because we're losing a sponsor at the end of this month. Not because they fell out with us, just because they're doing their own wee thing now, which is fine.
Also, if you haven't bought a Bhoycie Bus t-shirt, time is running out, so you better go and grab one very quickly.
There you go.
Before the end of...
I hate being that prick. I hate doing that stuff. I hate it. I hate doing that. But you've got to, if you're going to put in 100 shows in 5 months. And by the way, this is what we're celebrating today as well. Landmark. We have surpassed 100 Bhoycie Bus journeys since December. It is an incredible feat. It really is. But Paul, I will come to you, big man, because the thing is, European football now is there. We know the rewards we've got for winning this league title. For the first time since 2008, automatic Champions League group stage qualification. We also know our rivals for the title next year may well be blessed with that, and not only that, but with Pot 1 football, should they win one more match, which I shudder to think, but frankly think may happen. We have to be realistic though. At Celtic, we're never going to spend beyond our means. We're never going to, roll the dice too much. But is it time this time around, particularly with the coefficient in Scotland only going one way, and that is up the way, based on two teams, by the way. Actually, right now, the reason we got group stage football, and I want to remind our Rangers supporting friends, I want to remind them that actually the reason automatic group stage football was achieved this year for the Scottish Premiership winners is because Celtic actually won more points in the coefficient over the last 5 years than our counterparts. Now, I know that might change after this year, but don't kid yourself on. The reason we got automatic qualifications because of them. We actually won more points over the last 5 years, and we definitely never got beat off a team from Luxembourg. But Paul, I think that is called progress. But Paul, I think it's very... I know. Oh, that's Celtic dapper. But Paul, Postecoglou's not here just to win league titles, Scottish Cups, League Cups. I don't think the treble weighs heavily on his mind as a pressure point. I think European dents, shall we say, weigh heavier on his conscience, Paul, than what trebles do.
Yeah, definitely. I think this season, Bhoycie, that he actually wanted to bring in his own players, but he also wanted to see from this squad this season how many players could cope with European football. I think that's what his main job's been this year. Not only to win trophies, but to actually see who could compete with European football for next year. And then once he knows in this squad who can go into that first 11, then he knows who can bring it in.
Very quickly, Paul. I'm not having it. Red Baron, not having it. That's very naughty. Team got beat off a team from Gibraltar. Who won that round, mate? You got knocked out by Progress. Don't compare apples with oranges, young man. A team from Luxembourg knocked you out. James Tavernier, he was all in the team, the greatest fullback in the world. They were all in that team. Don't compare apples oranges. I went to the home game against the team for Gibraltar. We pumped them. We seen that round out. Over 2 legs, a team for Luxembourg knocked you out. Don't make me bite again, young man. Let Paul McFarlane speak.
Quite right, Bhoycie.
I'm glad I got that off my chest.
No, really, I think that the players that he brings in during the pre-season will be to add to the quality of the players who coped against the European opposition. I genuinely think that he will now know who his core European players are in his squad. And now what he will do now is who can he bring in the positions that needs upgraded. Once he does that, then I think that everything is going to fall into place. I genuinely do. But I actually think about this, the left back that we're supposedly after, what everybody's calling Jay-Z. No, he now scored again today, and what a free kick it was. Absolutely amazing. We've been calling out for competition from a left back before. We're also calling out for another free kick specialist. This guy has got both. I genuinely think this guy could just slot into Andy's system, no problem.
Did you hear what the commentator said as well when he called him Yas?
Uh-huh.
That's what his name. I'm well on board with that. Time is oh Yas.
But I mean, the thing is, we're very excited, Liam. I'll come back to you, the punk Dark Warlord, all the way from Vancouver, the coolest, trendiest bastard that's ever rocked this bus. There's a reason that Liam is on the bus. You need to unmute yourself, but yeah, he is cool. He's too cool for school.
I'm back.
Too cool for school. Liam, Celtic, Paul's getting excited there about potential future plans being arranged already. Ange actually distanced himself from it. He said that he actually didn't know who the person was that we were talking about. But regardless of that, let's say he's playing mind games. Either way, how important is it that whilst we've got this period of time, this 8-week gap between games that we've not had since 2008, we've got there's no qualifiers to play. We're going to Kazakhstan whilst trying to sign players. Ange's going to have a huge pre-season where he always has said since day one, he does his best work on the training ground, right?
Aye.
And Kevin 14 says you're a legend, by the way, and I've got to agree with that. And I want a shot your Jacob. But what I do think is interesting is, will Ange Postecoglou replicate January? Will he make sure, whether it's the guy for Hammer Bay, whether it's not, will we have players in the door as early as what we did in January, i.e. before the first day of pre-season? We could be looking at not all of them, because there'll still be links on the final day of the transfer window. Let's not kid ourselves on. We'll still try and tie up some sort of deal. That's what every club in the world does. But would you like to think, the vast majority of his targets will be identified and signed actually prior to even the pre-season day one? Do you think we'll be as efficient in business as what we were in January? And how important would that be, Liam?
I think that goes back to, we don't stop. It's still going. We're not stopping for a summer holiday here. I listened to Scott McDonald talking about Ange and said he's brilliant on the training pitch. So I think that's part of his sell to the club. You get my guys in early and I'll turn it around for you, and we'll get them into the team, into the system, so that we're all playing the same way by the time these qualifiers come. Because that was, how many times did we sign a player and then he wasn't fit enough for us? We've done that many times as well. We shot ourselves in the foot there. Yeah, I hope this is all part of this. We don't stop.
Unbelievable.
We're just taking a holiday.
No.
So I'm excited to see what we get in early, and I think he will get a lift back in there, because I think that's instrumental with how we're going to play in Europe.
I agree with you massively. I think it's so important that, I'll go with the other Liam now on this one. I know you've been quiet. I feel like everyone's been quiet. I feel like I'm going, I'm really sorry about this, guys. There's a busy bus, but the Bhoycie bus is coming and everybody's jumping. But Liam Collo, who arrived late, by the way, fucking late. No, I'm only joking, mate.
Bhoycie, I'm just going to go and get another can just now. Well, I'm going to grab another one because my ice bucket's empty. So we'll be back in a moment.
Cans are welcome, mate. You know the score. Liam Collo, do you believe Ange Postecoglou is already, whilst the season's in its midst, probably prior to us even knowing we were going to be champions, has already identified not just the positions but the personnel for the next phase of Celtic, which I call phase 2? Because I am going to agree with Postecoglou. I think we did season 1 and season 2 in season 1, if you like. Do you think he's already got it all pre-planned? Do you think he's identified the targets and the positions that he's looking to take us to that next level, which is, of course, Champions League?
Why wouldn't any manager not have probably 2-3 years plans all done at the one time? I think he's already got 4 or 5 players lined up, I would say, already. Talking to already, I would say.
So you don't think it's that forward thinking, you just think that every manager should have that? But let's be real, Liam. I mean, come on, mate. Celtic haven't fucking done that for the last decade, so, I know you're saying we should expect that. Like even Angie's first summer, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Jota, and another were signed on deadline day. So what I'm asking is, do you think there will be a difference this time round, mate?
Yes, I think the man's already got his plan in place to do it. Definitely got a plan in place.
That's good.
Bhoycie, you touched on one thing there I was thinking about over the last few days, and it was, what was the turning point on this season? And there's been a few popular ones. So you've got the day that we won away in Aberdeen. You've got the Ralston, the late goal. You've got the 3-0 against Rangers. They would probably be the most people's 3 that they go to. I wrote a name down earlier because he'd made a comment. I think it was Patrick McLaughlin. Liam Bhoycie's missed penalty. That was one that struck with me because we were under the cosh that game. That was the game before the Rangers game, and we were seriously under the cosh. And I think that was a really poignant moment. But the one that I'm picking up on your comment there, Cameron Carter-Vickers was signed with seconds left on transfer deadline day. Would we have won that league if that transfer hadn't gone through?
No. What I'm going to bounce back right to you, Terry, is can we afford to take that gamble again? That a guy who's going to be as crucial, as key as what Cameron Carter-Vickers has become, can we really afford to leave that to the last second? Or should we follow our own lead from January, Terry, and go, see if he's got a list, fucking go get them. Stop pissing about. Stop being the team of the last decade, like I've touched on already with the Champions League record. It's shocking that out of 9 years in a row of winning a title, we had more qualifiers at the end of that sequence than what we did at the beginning for the Premier Tournament in Europe. And then you wonder why, well, we need to penny pinch, we need to watch our money. Of course you do, because you're not maximising your potential, you bastards. Why don't we, this time around, go, well, the 40 million's banked, give him a big chunk of it. And go, who's the guy you want the most, Ange? Well, I want him. And by the way, don't think it's one. I want him, him, and him. And the other two lads who are already in the dressing room, they better be signed permanently as well. Just back them. Just back them. It seems so simple for us, but I genuinely believe it's cost Celtic. People think we've got this amazing business model, Terry. I'm sorry. The business model Celtic have is based on what Rangers now call the player trading model. Celtic business model should be based on success. It should be based on the riches that come with being in the Premier Tournament every single fucking year. It's particularly when you have 9 titles in a row, yet only 3 appearances in it. This is basic business. This is basic. I don't understand why people get like, oh, the turnover went up, but Rogers cost us a fortune. Of course the expenses are going to go up when you're competing at the top table. That's bog standards. Terry, we just hope and pray that January was maybe a wee insight, Terry, that Celtic for once are going to be proactive this summer.
Yeah, I know you couldn't hear me properly earlier. What I essentially was saying was I felt that the signings in January, whilst O'Reilly has made a contribution this year, the narrative around Gucci was he was always going to be one that would come through later. I think we were replacing Rogic and Beaton at that stage. I don't think Ange will want to leave it as late as we did for some of the signings that we got. I mean, we got Jota on deadline day as well. If we hadn't got those 2 players, if that day hadn't gone to plan and we hadn't got those 2 players, would we be sitting here now celebrating the title? Probably not, especially with CCV. My own thought around that is that the plan was probably to go with Julian, and he wasn't ready, or and Ange he's probably forced that one through at the last minute, is to get another centre half in, and I don't think he'll allow that to happen. I would imagine he's back. He's back at his desk today again. I seen he did an interview very, very early this morning for Australian TV. He's back at it again. Do you know what I mean? He'll know the areas he wants. He'll know already if Jota, Carter-Vickers are staying. He'll have known that for weeks, I would imagine, months probably. He'll know what needs to happen, and I think he's in a really, really strong position. If the board don't back him, there's something seriously wrong.
Terry, I think you're... Oh, mate, I love threads. You've given me a thread, and I love that. Who am I coming to next? Is it Phil or is it Scott?
I've got a good question for you. I'll find the question in. If Ange doesn't get back, do you think he'll what?
No. We're not even going to go down that road. This is the bus of positivity. We're celebrating a title win and 100 shows. I am not talking or even contemplating Postecoglou resigning. Liam, fuck it. I don't know how bad your hangover is, son. I know you're rough, but just know the day, mate. Eh? Just know. That, right,
don't worry, Liam. Ange will not walk. He's not that type of manager. No chance.
There you go.
Wrap that pest the new.
Wrap that... Good Scottish accent for Brucey boy. But Scott, we're going to come to you because I actually think Terry opened up another can of worms. And this is what I love to do on the Bhoycie Bus. We go down rabbit holes, we debate, we talk shite. We've still got half an hour to go, by the way. And if we want to go longer, we go longer. But what I'm going to say to you, Scott, is now, I think we were talking earlier, the warmth that Ange's brought, the family figure, the father figure, you know, and he's Mr. Celtic, and it's all just so lovey-dovey. But then we've talked about his cold, hard politics as a football manager, and ruthless decisions need to be made. Ruthless aggression, you could call it, Phil McGinley. When that needs to happen, he's not shy in making it happen. Now, what I'm beginning to think is, did Angel Long love the fact Celtic were so unprepared for his arrival? Did it suit Ange Postecoglou the fact that you've got no head of recruitment? Perfect. That means I need to make all the calls then, doesn't it? Oh, you're not going to get me one coach that I want? Fine. That means I can tell them, each and every single one of them, where to lay out the cones. He has got a complete control that I think has been designed by accident because it was so hash-bash, so last-minute, Larry, that he was appointed. But I actually think Ange Postecoglou is sat in the background going, this is perfect, because I get far more autonomy than I should have, and also there's no fallback because they've not provided me with fucking anything. I think this is what you're watching is an individual running a bus, you could say, free of all the bullshit and completely in control of his own destiny.
I think he's loving it because he's got the board over a barrel now about Bhoycie. I mean, they were willing to give Eddie Howe Oz everything they wanted, and then obviously Andrews came in and done it himself. So, if he says his job is no matter how high, basically, you know, I think any sign he asks for, they've got to give him it. Because he kens he's got them right where he wants them. You know what I mean?
I agree with you, Scott, mate. I really do.
Jump
in, Liam.
Like our other big Greek, he thrives on chaos. That's what it is. Eris Discordia, goddess of chaos. That's a Greek god. You know, and it's like you can see it in them, you know?
Go say that again. No, you're on mute.
Aye. Eris Discordia, goddess of chaos. The Greeks worshipped her. That was a part of their mythology. She was the one that threw an apple in to like a big thing where it was like to the most beautiful. You know, the lasses started fighting. And thrives on chaos. That's what he's about. And I think he's taking opportunity of that. Same when we're, you know, when Joe Hart's passing it about the back and, you know, you're going, oh my, you know, the pub's gone mental. You know, and it's like, but you see that chaos. But no, that's part of his brand, right? I think moving forward, your brand is chaos. That's
and then you get that striker, Liam, don't you?
Aye.
That certain striker, and we'll come to Phil McGinley now, because Phil McGinley is a striker that's stolen our hearts. He has won the hearts of the Celtic. He's my favourite player in that club by a million miles. I'm going to give you some comparisons we spoke about on the phone. The first time Moussa Dembele made a Champions League appearance in his life, he scores an overhead kick and actually a double against Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, because you know why? He knew he could. He felt he was in the company he belongs in. Now, I believe as well, since before that, there was another couple of guys we could talk about. Chris Sutton didn't respect anyone that he played against. Chris Sutton knew when he was at the top table, it was a belonging place to be. Henrik Larsson, people think is this gentleman. Oh, he was a gentleman. He was Celtic too. Henrik Larsson believed in Henrik Larsson more than he believed in Celtic. Can I just tell you? He had a streak that people forget. Henrik Larsson was arrogant. He just, he said all the right things, and his teary-eyed interview at the end was real. But trust me, he knew when he was at the top table, he was where he belonged, not where he was lucky to be at. I think Chaos Giacomakis, Phil McGinley, will take us into the Champions League and go, fuck all the niceties. See if you all want to smile and just be glad you're here and take in the anthem. See when that Champions League anthem's played, and a wee doff of the cap to the PA system for doing that, by the way, yesterday. I thought that was class.
That was good.
But what I will say, Scott, we'll mute Scott. Right, so what I'll say as well is, See when that Champions... Unbelievable. When that Champions League anthem played, I thought that is tremendous. I got goosebumps. But I then look at Giacomakis, he's not going to be sitting there sampling the atmosphere, Phil. I think he's looking at going, everyone's up for this, aye? Wait till I turn it up a couple of notches. He is going to be the guy that makes Celtic believe. I think he has got a different mindset, a different attitude, a different mentality to even everyone else in the squad currently that have been so successful.
I'm going to draw a comparison here. And I'm not saying for a second that Giacomakis is the level of this player. I'm just going to make that clear right now because I don't want to be the whole getting memed and quoted and stuff. But you know he's got a lot of similar characteristics to the way Zlatan Ibrahimovic behaves, that cockiness, that arrogance. But Zlatan, as much as he comes out with all this, some of the statements he comes with, he backs it up. And Giacomakis is the same. He's got the ability to back it up. There was that. Do you think you can win the league? Yes, you can. And it was a simple, I believe we can win the league. There was nothing bad about it, but it got blown up into this major disrespect to Rangers.
We're the better team.
We ended up doing it in the end. But I just think he won't have any respect for anyone's reputation in the Champions League. He'll be more than happy getting about them. He will do things that, that overhead kick that he scored yesterday, he tried that at Tannadice on Wednesday night as well, in pretty much the exact same position. He went for the exact same thing. Next game, he goes for it again, and this time it comes off. And that's to say, Zlatan just goes for things that are impossible. You remember the overhead kick that he scored against England from the halfway line, pretty much, where he was out wide. And it was Joe Hart that was in goal. Came running out to him, and he went for this overhead kick. And it's like nobody in their right mind would even try that there. Giacomakis is the type that will try things where it's like, this isn't even on. I think he'll go for it. So I do see a lot of comparisons there between the two of them, and he is the type of... That attitude is what we need, definitely.
Phil, we then need to talk about the name you and I coined, the chaos stuff. And you loved that for day one. You went, Bhoycie, roll with that, right? You were like, by the way, roll with it should have been played yesterday, you fuckers. But roll with the chaos thing, because chaos makes sense. I don't think chaos could be better described, Phil, than that second goal. It completely makes a James Hunt with his left foot and just toe punts in with his right foot. I'm going, this guy's a different breed. Every goal he scores is completely different from the other one. I think he's the biggest weapon for the Champions League next year.
Without a doubt. And just quickly on that goal, the other thing that I found hilarious was Stevie Welsh going for that mad flying header, just missing it, and then Giacomakis just bundles it into the net at the second time asking. Steve with a spectacular goal. Stevie Welsh had scored that, but he's definitely going to be a weapon next season. And again, it's all about reputation, because the Champions League is full of people with massive reputations. And as Terry says, he's said it many times, Giacomakis does not give a fuck. So he will next season. I don't know if everyone was muted, so I don't think they'll say it with me at the same time there. But yes, he does not give a fuck. So no matter who we're playing next season in the Champions League, if we're playing Liverpool and Van Dijk comes back up to Celtic Park, Giacomakis will make sure Van Dijk has a tough night that night. He will just get right in about him. So looking forward to seeing what he can do for us.
Let's get right back to Terry Robb, because Terry Robb, the Irish voice, this accent defines for me what post-match pitch is about, or a Sunday SESH is about. What a character. I love characters in life, right? I'm one myself. But I love characters in life. Terry Robb's became that. Just his background, even when he's on, it's just everyone's cool. And the accent's good, and he talks a hell of a lot of sense. But Terry, this Celtic team needs a bit of character. We need to start accepting that football only won't win in Europe. We need to make Celtic Park back to a fortress. We need to get the team back to being that don't give a fuck chaos attitude that we're talking about. But you need a bit of finesse as well. Kyogo, my Celtic Player of the Year, and I put my neck out in the line, I still stand by it. Again, we'll go back to Terry, right back to the start of the show. The bookmarking. Kyogo started this. He finished it yesterday with that double. And that double, I am sorry, both those goals, do you know what they are? They're both technically absolutely fantastic. But what they both are as well is snap-second decisions that nobody sees coming. The volley over the shoulder, the technique to do that is a joke. But also, the goalie's not expecting that to be what he does. But the near post one, That to me was when I went, that's just clever. Knowing the right way, he's running with his back to goal. He's running away for the ball. He doesn't take a touch. The ball's still rolling. He just turns snapshot. Near post goes in. Kyogo is an unbelievable footballer. He brings the finesse. Our Greek god brings the chaos, but a better goal ratio. We have to find a way, Terry. I don't know if you agree with this. How do we find the way for those two to feature as Celtic's starting 11? Because we have to find a way.
Bhoycie, I'm disappointed you're not putting as much effort into the pronunciation. It's Kyogo.
Oh, aye. Listen, lads. You know, it's all about a great team and Kyogo.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know how we get the two of them in. I don't want Kyogo wide. I don't want him on the left. I don't want him on the right. In my head, the only thing that I would want to see experimented is Kyogo in the 10. Giakoumakis right up top and Kyogo in behind with your two wide men. I think domestically, I don't think there's much risk in playing that kind of approach, especially home games. In fact, it might actually suit at Celtic Park, where you've got the lesser teams, without being disrespectful, just coming in, everybody behind the ball. It wouldn't hurt to have both of those guys on the park at the same time. No. You're probably sacrificing your Rogic, obviously gone, your O'Reilly type player to accommodate the additional striker, but. I mean, we're just really, really lucky. I think we just need to realise how lucky we are that we've got two strikers who are just absolutely class.
Two strikers that are class, and Gerald Coyle, you're class as well. He thinks such as my personality will be picked up.
Don't leave us, Bhoycie. Don't leave us, man.
Hey, all I want to say is, it's nice to see you.
Nice.
Hey!
Bruce's price is always right.
I just don't belong in that shite, man. I'm not here to play games. This is the channel I want to be on because I get guys like Terry on. And when Terry tells stories and tells the truth, I fucking love it. And do you know what? I think this channel will do all right. I think we'll do all right. And I think we've kept it real for day one. We've kept it real. We're over 100 shows now, ladies and gentlemen, because we've kept it real. What? Imagine some cunt tell me to comb my hair and that, like, you know, putting foundation on me and that. Do you know what I mean? Put the canistella down. Put the canistella down, boys. So you're going on blind dates and you're hosting blind date, you bastard. You know, fuck that. That's not me. No, we're on the channel we want to be on, the bus we want to be on, and what's happened is we've achieved over 100 shows because of every single one of you, the guys on the show, and because of all of you watching. There's 163 live right now on a Sunday tea time, and if you think when we did our first show December the 6th I ever thought we'd be now at a level where over 100 was the norm, 5 shows a week, come on, even I'm not that fucking aloof, and you know I don't like aloof people. Right, we'll move on to next. Who's not spoken a while? Put your hand up because I'm actually running out. Is it Paul?
No, it's Bruce.
Bruce, cool. So, Bruce, don't take it personally, mate. I am struggling to keep up with the numbers. Bhoycie in the jungle, says the Kaiser, and he's absolutely right. But listen, Bruce, this is the point I'm going to make to you. The strangest thing about the success of the Celtic team right now is whenever we've had success in the last decade with players, the first thing that comes to everyone's mind, Bruce, is how much will folk bid for them? How much are people going to bid for them? Are we going to lose them? Right? Terry seems to have dropped off, that's fine. He'll come back on. No.
Oh,
Terry's there.
Well, Scott's
Who
disappeared.
dropped off?
Scott's went.
No worries. Anyway, right now it's really strange because we have an environment where I think we've got some seriously wonderful footballers. Right? And nothing. I'm not hearing anything about links with other clubs and potential moves and transfer rumours, which, see, to be honest with you, for the day Moussa Dembele signed for Celtic, he was linked with a move away. Edouard, similar. Tierney, it took a couple of years, and then it was relentless for 2 years before he made the Arsenal move. Callum McGregor's had a bit of it. There's other examples you can name a million, but essentially this team, we've not heard much of that. It's very important that this summer, we make the most of the 40 million bounty we've achieved, and don't try and keep the balances booked by yet again selling an asset. That's essential this season, Bruce. This summer, should I say, Bruce?
So the difference is, remember last season when it all went kaput and we were all saying we need wholesale data right from the top of the club all the way down throughout all of the departments, and the only way to do that from a business perspective, if you try to change your tact and you're trying to move in different directions, is to go right back to the drawing board and redesign all of your processes. One of those processes that we, I don't know, it might have been 15 years ago, something like 10, 15 years ago, we implemented this process where we realised that we could get a better calibre of player in if we promised them, look, you're going from, I don't know, you're going from like, I don't know, Feyenoord, and you want to play in the English Premier League. We'll give you a platform. You can play in Europe. You can play in the Champions League against PSG. We might get scunnered, but if you put in a good performance, people will be looking at you. If we win the league, people will be looking at you. And you'll get that bigger wage. You'll get that big move. We'll sell you on for big money. And it worked in our favour as well because, you know, buy them for £1 million, sell them for 12. So financially, it's a good approach. What's changed this year is I think we've gone back to our processes. We've gone, you know, stripped them all back and redesigned them in a different way. And our approach now is not to advertise ourselves as stepping stone. It's to advertise ourselves as a big club. Yeah, as much as you would if you went and played for Brighton or Southampton or West Ham or whatever. But even if you played for Brighton, Southampton or West Ham, yeah, you'll be playing against Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Arsenal some weeks, but you're not going to be in Europe. Your home stadium's going to be 35,000, or you can come up to Celtic, 60,000 fans every other week. Yep. European football, we're just a different caliber of club, aren't we? It's different. We are actually like a family rather than just a football club. And look at the love these players get and the appreciation. You can see it in their eyes when they score or at the end of a game, and everybody's like celebrating them, singing their names and all that. Mate, isn't that what it's all about? Because I earn a hell of a lot less than 30 grand a week. And I could live comfortably on 30 grand a week. I could live comfortably on 90 grand a week.
No, I couldn't.
I would pick 30 grand a week plus all of this connection and unity and love from all the fans and just being part of something special. I'd pick that over, struggling week in, week out with football, the football results and all obvious, and also, just having some fans that are just there to watch something and not even that bothered about shit. You know which one you'd pick. And
Bruce, I think you're very romantic. I think, and I agree. Like, see, hand on heart, I would love to be like that. Truth of the matter is, I disagree. The truth of the matter is, it's a short fucking career, and it's how the club's pitched. I think is so important. How the club is pitched to potential signings. Liam Greenlaw, it must be your turn. It's got to be, because it's right here with the punk duck's got to say on anything, let's be honest. I'll probably keep you two people who go, I'm drawn to you, Liam, you're like a magnet. Now you're in the middle as well, you're owning this shit. But it's all about how Celtic is pitched to a player. Now, people think you're on your own pod, you must not watch other ones. It's like, no. I watch every single other type of podcast out there, and what we do, Liam, is I take bits from it. Simon Ferry, to me, blew the market apart. He is the definition of how to interview people. He has also a lot of insight in it. And he reminds you, footballers' careers are short. Footballers can get an injury-defining injury-defining moment that ends a career. Well, oh, but I stayed loyal to the club and I've made like 800 grand in my bank account. Well, yeah, we might all be able to live comfortably on that. But see, when you know the reality was, I could have made £8 million if I'd made that move. What are you going to do? The loyalty doesn't exist in the game that we all hope and wish for. And I think, Liam, Brendan Rodgers played on that a bit. He knew what the market was down south, and he basically enticed people to come up to get a move back to the big stuff. I'll get you that move. I genuinely, now, to tie in with what Bruce is saying, think I'm just signing players on the romance side that Bruce is alluding to. He's signed players going, this is it. Kyogo's not a young lad. Jack Max, well, they are young lads, obviously. But football in terms, 26, 27. He's going, and by the way, it was a 5-year deal Giacomakis signed at 26. 5-year deal Kyogo signed. They're tied up. But I think they've all been brought in, Liam, because it's, you are, I'm acting like Morelos now. But it's all about that, mate. I think he's brought in players to go, this is the biggest club you ever played for. Fuck the EPL. All that, you'll be looked after. Hence why you're not on a 3-year contract, you're on a 5-year deal. So if you're on 20 grand for 5 years, it's $5 million, right? So it all adds up, and that's why I think we've seen a lot of players joining on longer term contracts than normal, but actually signing because they want to play for Celtic.
He said that before. I remember him talking about this being a platform, right? That this is a platform for players that want to come here and that have that bit of like, there's certain guys that want to show off. Jota looks like that. You know, Giacomakis, definitely. They want a platform. They want a big place to play to get that adoration. It's the same way you get guys in bands, you know, musicians that will play in wee small clubs, and then you get the guys that want the stadiums. They want the stadium. They're big game players, and they need a big team to play for. And I think Ange sells that to them. You know,
I agree with that.
Right. Even like they must blow their mind when they go to wee stadiums and they see the amount of fans that show up for an away game and the loudness and you know, it's like they've probably never experienced anything like that. They'll see that stadium empty, and then by the time they're playing in it, it's like, how did this start? Where did they come from? I think with the platform, that's and we'll attract a better type of player based on that, and that has to be part of our recruitment strategy. Have that in mind when we sign players. Some players like Shane Duffy, he couldn't play in front of a big crowd. It seemed he couldn't take that, you know.
Well, no crowd. He couldn't handle the expectation of Celtic, Liam. He could not. He signed for a club that he supported, and the whole magnitude of it, which may happen to any one of us 8, by the way, it just was too much, Liam. And I think we could all be guilty of that when you care about a club so much. Shane Duffy's a bona fide Celtic fan.
Aye, I saw him tweeting. He was tweeting yesterday. His tweet, he was tweeting Celtic and all that, champions again, and like a fan.
That's class. It's actually a pity. It's a pity that the expectation, the levels of it, it just all became a wee bit too much for the likes of Shane Duffy. But who am I back to now? Is it Terry? Am I back to Terry? This is really tricky now. Like, it's really tricky. Terry, is you, eh?
Throw it out there and we'll see who's best placed to answer it.
Terry, let's go. No, it's Liam. It's Liam Cole. Terry, we're back to you in a minute. Liam, I know that folk are listening to this on Spotify going, this guy's an absolute fucking joker. How's he done 100 fucking shows? You know what I mean? He's not got a fucking clue. Do you know what, Liam? Who cares? Liam Colo, how important is it that I'm just talking about signing players that are going to be for immediate impact? I'm just holding the mic for a laugh now. Immediate impact. He says to the first team. Now, if that's to be the case, how important is it that those guys aren't signing on a whim and they are signing because they want to believe in the Ange Postecoglou project as opposed to signing for us believing in their own career? Fucking
all we can say is what... I feel like we speak. We're always going to say, why did Lieutenant Larson say for all these years to on Bruce's point earlier on? Do you know that way here could have probably, through his height, his power, probably signed for any big club in the world. He wanted to Man United, Barcelona, but he loved it. And look how much we loved the guy. That we happy with his 35. Was it 35 grand? The week he was on at the time, something like that. Give
Something like that, mate. Something like that. Aye.
So it just look at the impact he made.
Aye, so I mean, like, this is what I'm trying to say, though, Liam. You know, I've let you speak. What I don't miss, mate. I don't miss. But like, think about it, Liam. Are Celtic changing? Because what we actually ended up with was a situation where, as I've talked about, 9 years, 10 years of underachievement in Europe, right? Bullshit, getting beat by clubs that I can't even be arsed going through them all, right? But too many to mention. But during that time, all we were getting told in the Scottish media was the strategy. The transfer strategy works. You know, we're signing players for X amount, 400, 500 grand, $1 million, 2 million, and we're selling them on for 5 times that amount. Is it not time we sign a player like Kyogo for $4.5 million, who's 26, 27 now, and we go, come on, spend your best years here. Get the money back on them through what they achieve the club. And that'll be Champions League money as opposed to basing everything on an individual transfer fee recoup. Why does it need to be that? See if we sign players that get us the next 5 years in a row group stage football in the Champions League. That's what, £200 million. That's more than what you'll recoup in these fees. And it means that you've got a team that all buy in to what the manager's trying to fucking do. Rather than it being players signed to go, oh, I'll sort your next move because I've got contacts down south. Liam, do you believe Celtic are now beginning to go down that road where the reason for the long-term contracts are because they are guys that are going to be in this the soul of the Celtic team over the next few seasons?
I would say definitely. If we act like a Champions League club and sign big players with 26, 27-year-olds to do the job they now.
Yep.
Domestic football, sort of sell. And that way, you never know, we might be in Istanbul this time next year.
You never know. And that's, well, let's fucking flip it. Let's absolutely flip it because we'll go back to, is it Phil? It's Phil, your turn, mate. Me and you had a wee chat. We had a wee chat, mate, on the phone the other day. And we were saying basically, essentially, Celtic, right, you get laughed at if we say Celtic could win the Champions League, right? We'll get laughed at for that, of course. But see if Celtic go game by game in the Champions League and go into every game not expecting to win it, but with a winning mentality. Well, that takes you a hell of a lot further forward than even under Rodgers. I found it really strange because we had this ruthless streak in Scotland, and that's how we have an invincible season. That's how we have 69 league games unbeaten. So we win trebles, quadruple trebles, all this bullshit. But in Europe, I thought we were always glad to be at the party. Phil, it's very important that we take a different attitude to it this time round. That'll come from the guys that we bring in. That'll come from guys that aren't signing to go, oh, look at me, I'm pretty and I'm in the Champions League. Who cares about the score as long as a wee scout sees me and I get a move? It's very important we have guys with the same mentality as Chaos Giacomakis who go in and go, fuck you, I am the party. And I think Giacomakis would look at Sergio Ramos, for example, and go, you're in for the night of your life, mate. You might think you've been there, seen it, done it all. I'm going to ragdoll you on it. I think we need that attitude. I don't mean all about the physicality, by the way. What I'm actually trying to say is the actual attitude, the mindset of going, we're not lucky to be at the table. We are the table. Let's have a go.
I don't know if it's one of these things that has just been said so many times in, say, the media that it eventually gets to the players, because this is not just this team in particular, it goes back a few years. We keep getting told by our neighbours down south in England about how rubbish Scottish football is, and, we keep on getting demeaned by them. Has it got to the point where we as a club or Scotland as a whole believe that, they're right, actually, there's a bit shite up here, isn't it? There's so much more we can do with the game. you know, to make, because it's not as bad as they think. And I say, as much as we don't want to admit it, our neighbours across the city have done no bad this season, and they probably take it on a game-to-game basis. Do you think really at the start of the Europa League campaign, they sat there and went, "I'm not going to get to the final shit"? It's just a game-to-game basis. I think Celtic have got to get a bit of belief back. It's that simple. And players with the attitude of Jack and Marcus will help that. But yeah, I do feel sometimes that is the case, that there has been a bit of we just believe what we're being told here. We've had it hammered into us so often that Scotland's a backwater of Scottish football, you know, and
financial disparity.
The point you talk about as well, you know, 9 years ago we only had to play like one qualifier, and nowadays, you know, it was like, what was it, last season or 2 seasons ago, it was like 4 rounds of qualifiers, and and that again, you're like, how come we've got to play so many qualifiers? Because Scottish football's crap, and we start to buy into it. But again, it just shows you a wee bit of belief, a wee bit of luck as well, what you can achieve being a Scottish team as well. So we've got to get that belief, that ruthless aggression, that streak in us, man. We've got to do it. And next season, see, you're right about Jackie Marcus. You know, no matter who he comes up against, he will just make sure I say Liverpool could come up and tank us, but Van Dijk and Matip will know they've been in a game against him. So yeah, we definitely just need to start getting that belief back in us again. We can make Celtic Park a fortress, hopefully.
You talk a lot of sense, Phil. You talk a lot of sense. Paul McFarlane, have you been underwhelmed by what Celtic have achieved in the past decade? Is Ange Postecoglou here to bring a higher power, if you like? And I know you like that reference, Phil, right? But is the higher power that Ange Postecoglou is striving for Zadok the priest? Celtic's PA system decides to go all out and play the Champions League theme tune yesterday as the team came back out to collect the trophies. I am not exaggerating when I say this, and I know it sounds cheesy when you're trying to make headlines for a podcast. I'm a fuck. I promise you I got the goosebumps when the music played, and there's multitude of reasons for that. Firstly, just hearing it come over Celtic's tannoy, right? Let's break it all down. Just hearing it at Celtic's tannoy, that was it, right? Then I started thinking, holy fuck. Imagine it. Imagine it. It's a reality, by the way. So it's like, not imagine it. It's coming. Postecoglou at that top table. I think he's got the streak we're talking about, chaos and all that. You know, Paul, I think Ange Postecoglou's going to look in the eye of managers, whether it be Pep, whether it be anyone not, and go, you know I'm good. You know I can beat you. You know I can outfox fucking anyone. You ready to go toe-to-toe? Let's have it. But when I heard that music play, Paul, it kind of gave me that buzz I've been looking for again. And it reminds you of course, it frustrates me now when I look back, how infrequently we've had that over the last decade, when we really should have heard that theme tune playing. I thought it was a great move by the Celtic media team or whatever, who seem to have their shit together all over again, which is great. But it also gives you shudders, like, oh, that's coming back. That's reality. September.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely had the goosebumps yesterday. Definitely. The minute that tune played, I thought what I've been saying all along about Ange, and I'm going to repeat it for the millionth time. He came here to make us a power in Europe again.
I agree.
He didn't come here. He knows that we can win the league. We can win the league every season, maybe every second season, okay? But he came here to make us a power in Europe again. For Europe to stand up and say that Celtic are not gone, that we can be a power again in Europe. And that's what we need. And it's like you say to Phil as well, if we can get the right players in, with Ange's system, if he can tweak around with these formations, get the right players in, we can be a force and we can be the greater power in Europe once again.
It's realistic. It's realistic, lads. We've went over 2 hours, and I know some of you haven't spoke as much as others have, but we need to be realistic here. Over 2 hours is a good gig. What a season it's been. Not only for Celtic, but for the BOYCIE'S as well. Since the turn of Christmas, I think we've been on a 32-game unbeaten run, you could call it as well. But you know what? By the way, disclaimer, we're back tomorrow for the Monday Club. But enjoy your summer, because the bus will be back bigger and better, because I'll unmute every single person, we'll say it in unison. Right, everyone unmute themselves. Everyone unmute themselves. We will be back bigger and better because we don't stop.
Oh,
About me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.